Hello, we're going to take a quick look at units of speed. To understand units of speed, we first have to understand the equation to solve for speed and what speed is. The equation for speed is distance divided by time. Now, distance refers to how far something goes, how far something is away, or how far something travels. So distance is like this car, this street. This is a certain distance. Time is like a clock. It's how long something takes. In this case, a clock would measure minutes or hours, but of course time can be measured in a variety of different ways. Now, speed is a combination of how far something goes in a certain amount of time. That is what speed is, and that's why we have to understand different sorts of units so that we can understand fully what speed is. Now let's see how familiar we are with different units that describe distance and time. Because when you read problems and you try to solve problems that deal with speed, where you solve for speed, the first challenge is figuring out what the distance is, and then of course what the time is. So let's look at these choices here. We've got minutes. When we think of minutes, we think of a clock. So minutes would be a unit of time. Then we have seconds. Well, again, we think of a clock. Things that just take a little tiny bit of time take a few seconds. So we'll put the seconds over here. Then we have centimeters. Centimeters are on a ruler. Centimeters are things that we use to measure with. It's a short distance, but centimeters would be a distance. Miles, we travel in a car over a number of miles. Miles is also a distance. Things would be a certain many miles away. That's how far away something might be. Then we have inches. Inches is also a distance. Again, it's on a ruler. It's not very far, but it's definitely a distance. Hours. Hours is time. Time passes by in units of hours. Then we have feet. We measure lots of things by feet. You probably are about 4 feet 5 inches tall. So feet would be a distance. And then we have meters and we have kilometers, and these are all distances. There's a lot of examples of distances here. So basically anything that measures how far something is or how long something is a distance. Anything that measures how long something takes is a time. Now I could have added weeks or years or months or even decades or even milliseconds, which is a very, very small fraction of time. Now let's use what we just learned to solve some easy problems. Let's say that we have a toy car that travels 10 centimeters in 2 seconds. Now, before we do anything, we want to write down our equation for speed. Speed equals distance divided by time. I want to do this every time. That way I never forget. First thing I do when I get a paper, I'll write this equation down. Distance divided by time. So in this case, the speed equals the distance. We just looked at distances. The centimeters is distance, so it would be 10 on top, divided by the speed. Seconds is a unit of speed, divided by 2. So the example, 10 divided by 2 equals 5. Now we need to make sure we get our units correct. 5 by itself is really not the answer. It's 5 centimeters, so we'll put a cm per second, cm/s. That would be the answer, 5 centimeters per second. Let's look at the second one. A van travels on the highway and goes 120 miles in 2 hours. So again, the speed equals the distance, which is 120, divided by the time, which is 2 hours, and that equals 120 divided by 2 equals 60. And again, we want to make sure we get our units in there, miles per hour. And that's the answer. Very, very simple. Speed equals distance divided by time. If you can identify the distance and the time, you can solve these problems easily.